Craig, first of all, let's look back to last Saturday's game. It was a dominating performance from start to finish, 7-0 victory for the New Saints. Nevertheless, you are a head coach that seeks perfection, that always wants more from the team. How do you look back to that and think we can improve on things?
Yeah, I think we can always improve. I think once you start thinking you're perfect, and once you start thinking you can't improve anymore, then you're going to go backwards, and the sloppiness will come in, and that's something that, from my personality and my personal opinion, then sometimes possibly people might say, enjoy the performance and the win, which we did on the way home on Saturday and Sunday to a certain extent. But myself and the coaching staff met again on Monday, and we went through how we would put that one to bed, because it was a good result, but it's done, it's dusted, and put a game plan together about how we compete with Dundee on Friday.
And it was a great result, as we say. It's the icing on the cake of a current excellent run of form. Do you think that's important, taking the statistics that we have behind us into the game that comes up this Friday?
Yeah, definitely. I think football's very much habit based, both positive and negative, and if you get in a bad slump in the habits of not winning football games, and then it's quite easy to roll it on to the next one, where same with confidence and with positive play and winning football games, it's a habit as well. So we're in a good habit at this moment in time. We're 6 into it without being beat. We've won 5 and drawn 1. Ideally we would have won 6 and wouldn't have conceded a single goal instead of the 1. But that's probably the perfectionist in myself, in trying to drive everyone, because if you don't aim for perfection, then where you going to hold your standards at? But yeah, we're in a good moment at this moment in time, but we've just got to realise that yes, it was a good performance, but not get too carried away. We've got a tough game on Friday, then beyond that we've got 2 tough games in the league against Flint and Newtown, so it's not we're not getting too carried away. We've enjoyed it. It's done and dusted. It's been put to bed, and we've started working on this morning on moving forward to the next game.
I guess it's true to say that the JD Cymru Premier would be your bread and butter, the main objective of the club this season. We're also in the Welsh Cup, and of course this weekend the SPFL Trust Trophy. Where does that latter competition fit in terms of priorities?
Yeah, I think priorities, and I think it hasn't got to change, is winning football games. Whether it be, for myself, whether it be a 8-a-side in training, whether it be in any type of competition, we want to try and win the football game. So that's where I think we don't really look at crossing them over, because I think winning, as I've just said, it becomes a habit. We don't want to get into a sloppiness of thinking, oh well, this one doesn't matter, that one doesn't matter, lower our standards. It does, because it's the next one. The next one is the most important one. Yes, if you don't win the league, you don't qualify for the Champions League, so yes, that will always be the important competition, but the rest of the competitions are also very important as well, just as much as being in the moment. You start trying to plan forward and thinking, this one's worth more than that one. No, it's a football game that we want to win, and be present in the moment and win it, because it's the next game's the most important one. So I think it's really important for good habits.
Certainly more so than our regular opponents, who we play sometimes 4-5 times in a season. Yeah. Dundee is, in that sense, an unknown quantity. How have you gone about preparing specifically in terms of information gathering for that fixture?
Yeah, we're very, very fortunate. There's a lot of technology out there, as well as we've got people on the ground that's been to watch a game, and come back with a report. There's all sorts of tools out there. There's Y-Scout, there's Instat. We get a lot of information from the network of people that we know. So yes, we've done as much due diligence as we can. Yes, it's got a very European feel to it, which always has done since the first time we competed in this competition, because of like you've just said, we've not played against Dundee before. Where the other teams domestically, like you said, everyone knows everybody pretty well inside out in the Cymru Prem. So yes, it's got a very European feel to it, where we need to make the players aware in drip feed for the moment we finish the game on Saturday, drip feed in the WhatsApp group, and then presentations, and then pitch training sessions, and just be aware of what we're coming up against, and that'll all sort of fountain and filter, should I say, into the tomorrow and the day after, when we get closer to the game, and then we put our game plan down on, and that's how we want to play. That's with presentations and pitch time, etc. So yeah, it's certainly a bit more not in depth, because we're going to every game with respect and in depth, but naturally we don't know the opponent, so you have to do a bit more digging and a bit more looking and making everyone a bit more aware of individuals and teams, especially such as Dundee, who've got obviously very good players, a good manager, experienced manager, and obviously they only got relegated from the Scottish Prem last season, so that's the standard we're talking about.
And as far as the training's concerned, has that changed much because of the nature of the opponent?
No, it hasn't really. You know, we've got a format and a standard way of we'll train. You know, the actual the information in there, in the technical and tactical elements will change to a certain extent, but the planning will stay the same. It'll just be given a bit more information. Obviously, we might have to do a little bit more of out of possession because we don't know this team, and obviously they're a good standard team, so we might have to work a little bit more on out of possession. You know, we've highlighted 3 or 4 their strengths and 3 or 4 their weaknesses, so we've got to probably touch on it a little bit more. But it's the same sort of structure. It's just the detail in the information inside that structure that might change a little bit.
And as far as Dundee themselves are concerned, they sit 5th in a 10-team league.
Yeah.
They have 10 points from 7 games.
Yeah.
They score a lot of goals,
Yeah.
but they also concede as well. Do you take those statistics into account as you plan ahead for the game?
I think overall I don't think you can, because we've broken down and watched their last 5 games, so there's obviously been reasons for that. You know, some different game plans of that opposition, different game plans for Dundee. So, you know, overall I think it's something that we're not particularly looking at the bigger picture, you know, because we've actually broke it down into game by game, and, you know, and strengths and weaknesses and technical and tactical elements of it. So not really, it's a bit of a round figure at the end of the day, but there's been a lot more in-depth information, you know, bored down a lot more into that, and, you know, underneath the surface we've broke it down to a bit more than that.
You've made reference to the games that we will be playing after Dundee. Yeah. That's 3 in 8 days. Yeah. Naturally, well, we assume naturally that there will be perhaps more changes to the starting lineup than normally. Would there be changes this week, or would there perhaps be changes more so in the Flint game? I
think we've got to take it game by game, really. You know, once you start looking ahead too much, you know, and getting ahead of yourself and thinking, oh, well, what can we do in that game? What can we do in that game? You know, you take your eye off the next game, which, as I've alluded to, it's the most important one. So we are preparing now for Friday. Once Friday's done, then we'll prepare for Flint on Tuesday, and once Tuesday's done, we'll prepare for Friday against Newtown. So as simple as it sounds, and as it is literally, and as cliche as it is, it's about taking one game at a time, because if you start overthinking, then, you know, you take your eye off the here and now, then it's a dangerous situation to be in.
It will be a close game on Friday. That's what everyone would expect. Yeah. Do you think home advantage could give TNS just that little bit extra?
I think just because historically for a long time, you know, the football club's had a really good home record in European competition and in domestic competition. So I think for confidence, for comfort for players, you know, and obviously we've got to take into account as well geographically in, you know, travelling. Because obviously we're not travelling, you know, an hour or so away, or so, should I say Dundee or not, you know, they're going to have to travel 5-6 hours, if not a little bit more, I'd imagine. And then also as well, I think there's only 1 or 2 3G pitches in the championship as well, so, you know, they're going to have to take in consideration that as well. So it does give us probably added advantage. Does that make us favourites? I'm not too sure.
And finally, obviously we know about Josh Pask and the long-term injury there, and the updates that you give us each week. What's the rest of the squad looking like in terms of selection availability? Yeah,
good. You know, Blaine got a little bit of an injury on Friday, day before the game. He's obviously out the squad on Saturday, so we're just reassessing that really. He's had the weekend to recover and let it settle down, and Phil's having a look at that today. And apart from that, everyone, Danny Davis back in, obviously he was on the bench on Saturday, Ash Baker back in, so we'll have everyone available apart from Josh and Blaine, but we're not too sure how long Blaine will be.